Welcome to today's story.
She didn't know it yet, but this crying boy was about to become her boss. 20 years ago, Sarah was a struggling flight attendant working a red-eye to London. In seat 14B, a 7-year-old boy named Leo sat alone, sobbing. He had no parents and no luggage, just a tattered teddy bear and a one-way ticket to a state-run orphanage. The lead purser, a bitter man named Marcus, ordered Sarah to move Leo to the cramped, unheated crew jump seat so a late-arriving VIP could take his row. Sarah refused the direct order, sparking a loud argument in the galley. Marcus threatened to have her fired on the spot for insubordination, but Sarah didn't budge. She sat on the floor of the aisle instead, holding Leo's hand. The disgruntled VIP in 14A deliberately kicked Sarah's arm to get her to move, but she didn't flinch. She wiped the floor when he accidentally spilled juice on her, ignored the insult, and shared her only personal meal with Leo because the airline had refused to provide one for an unaccompanied minor. Mid-flight, a medical emergency broke out in coach. Marcus panicked and froze, but Sarah jumped into action, using her training to stabilize an elderly passenger while still keeping a hand on Leo's shoulder. Marcus later filed a report claiming Sarah had abandoned her post. To save her job, Sarah was forced to sign away her holiday bonuses and accept the most grueling, low-pay shifts for the next 3 years. As the plane landed, she watched Leo get led away by social services. Before he vanished, she pressed her lucky silver wing pin into his hand and whispered a promise. "One day, Leo, you are going to fly higher than anyone else in this sky." 2 decades passed. Sarah was now 60, exhausted, and facing a forced retirement with zero savings. Her pension had been systematically embezzled by the airline's previous corrupt board. To make matters worse, a corporate shark had just bought the failing company and issued a brutal memo. The bottom 20% of staff would be fired by noon to trim the fat. Sarah's name was at the top of the list because Marcus, now a senior vice president, had spent 20 years sabotaging her records to cover up his own incompetence during that flight. On her final day, Sarah discovered a hidden ledger in the crew lounge that proved Marcus had been pocketing the fuel surcharges for years. She realized this was why the airline was failing. She tried to bring the evidence to human resources, but Marcus intercepted her, grabbed the ledger, and called security to have her forcibly removed from the building. Sarah broke away from the guards and burst into the executive boardroom where the new owner was finalizing the layoffs. At the head of the long mahogany table sat a man in a $10,000 suit, cold eyes, sharp jaw. He looked at Sarah, then looked at the security guards chasing her. Marcus stepped forward, shouting for her to be handcuffed, but the owner held up a single hand. The room went silent. The man didn't pick up a pen to sign the termination papers. Instead, he reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a tarnished, silver wing pin. He placed it on the table next to a tattered, old teddy bear. "Seat 14B, he said, his voice suddenly trembling. "I told you I'd fly high, Sarah." The board members gasped as Leo turned his gaze to Marcus. Leo didn't just have the ledger Sarah found. He had spent 5 years working undercover as a junior analyst to track every cent Marcus had stolen. He signaled to the doors, and 2 federal agents entered to arrest Marcus for embezzlement and fraud. Leo then dropped a final bombshell. He wasn't just keeping the airline open. He had restructured it as a worker-owned cooperative. He handed Sarah a new contract, nomming her the CEO of operations with a mandate to restore the pensions Marcus had stolen. Sarah went from being just a flight attendant to the woman who owned the skis, all because she chose to sit down when everyone else walked away. Kindness is never a transaction, but it is always the greatest investment you can make. Drop a heart if you believe in the power of kindness and subscribe.